to order. Welcome everyone to the November 13th, 2023 Goffstown Select Board meeting. This time, if you could all please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up we have the acceptance and correction of the 11/6/2023 public and non-public minutes.
Make the motion, we do the minutes for 11/6/23 public and non-public minutes with corrections if need be.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained? Motion passes. And for announcements this evening, we have a couple. On November 13th is the first day for town to accept petitions to amend zoning ordinances, historic district ordinances, or building code for consideration at the 2024 town meeting. The last day to accept 2024 zoning petitions is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. All petitions must be signed by at least 25 registered voters that reside in the town of Goffstown and in correct warrant article form in accordance with RSA 675:4. If you have any questions, see the planning department or call 497-8990, extension 117 for assistance. Petitions submitted electronically or by mail shall not be accepted. Petitions must be submitted in writing to the Select Board Administration Office located on the second floor of Town Hall at 16 Main Street, Goffstown, New Hampshire, 03045 during regular business hours. Hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And our second announcement, a reminder to all residents, the town winter parking ban will take effect on November 15th and will run through the winter months ending on April 15th. The parking ban is effective between the hours of 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., and the Goffstown Police Department strictly enforces violations of the overnight parking ban. If weather conditions are favorable, written warnings may be issued during the first week of the ban. During snow removal operations, if a vehicle is parked so that to constitute a hazard, its removal may be requested by the Highway Department. In these instances, the Goffstown Police Department will investigate and make all reasonable attempts to contact the owner. But if the owner or operator is not located, the vehicle will be towed at the owner's expense. If you have any questions concerning the winter parking ban, please contact the Goffstown Police Department at 603-497-4858. This announcement is for the Goffstown Library Board of Trustees and the Goffstown Public Library Foundation Once Upon a Pie Baking Competition and Auction. This event will take place on Saturday, November 17th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at Goffstown High School on Wallace Road. Please bring your friends and family to enjoy a slice of pie or two at this great community event and fundraiser. Winning pies in each category will be sold to the highest bidder. This event includes a silent auction, prizes, and bid on blue ribbon pies. Entrance, bring your pies and entry forms to the high school cafeteria between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. Entry forms are available at the library and on the library website. Bring your friends and family to enjoy a slice of pie or two for just $3 each at this great community event. This event is hosted by the Goffstown Library Board of Trustees and the Goffstown Public Library Foundation. The foundation is a non-for-profit organization formed to handle a capital campaign for the building addition. Okay, so anyone else have announcements? Derek, would you like to start on the town administrator's report?
Sure. If you go to page 12 of your packet, you have your committee's schedule for the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. the sewer commission will be in this room.
Yep.
On Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. the library trustees are meeting.
I'll be there.
7 p.m. Parks and Rec Commission at the Parks and Rec Center.
I'll be out of town.
Okay. At 7 p.m. Conservation Commission will be in this room.
I'll be there.
I can cover Peters if need be.
Okay. Thank you. I will alert Rick.
Yep.
On Thursday at 6 p.m. Budget Committee will be at the high school.
Same thing, I'm out of town.
I'll be at
You
that.
can do it? Good, thank you.
7 p.m. Planning Board in this room.
Yeah, I have that.
And then next week on Wednesday, the Historic District Commission has a meeting scheduled for 6:30 on Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah. so-
And then next week is Thanksgiving, so town offices are closed on Thursday and town hall is closed on Friday. On your next page, you have your consent agenda. You have employee status reports, DPW Assistant Town Engineer, step increase for successful completion of probationary period. DPW Fleet Operations Manager, step increase for successful completion of probationary period. You have a DPW Seasonal Laborer, this is end of seasonal period. We had 2 employee status reports that were added today. One is for a truck driver. It's a 3-month extension of probationary status. And then a patrol officer resignation. You have rights to inter for West Lawn Expansion Cemetery, Section W1, lots 38 and 39. This is a corrected deed. You have an event permit from Goffstown Main Street Program for Friday Night Under the Lights for Friday, December 1st from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. You have motor vehicle titles. These are transfers from the police department to the town, both for 2017 Ford Explorers. You have a contract for prosecutorial services for Francistown that needs a signature of the entire board. You have sidebar agreements with the 4 town unions, 1 sidebar for each union for the one-time buyback of unused vacation and or personal time, and then the modification of dental plan offering. And then you also have a signature copy of the remote work policy that was approved by the board at your meeting last week to be signed.
Thank
Make a
you.
motion to approve the consensus agenda as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained? Motion passes.
At your next page, you have a request from the library director. She has been contacting contractors for the projects that are approved with the use of the Invest New Hampshire grant funds.
Where is
Derek,
this?
I don't have this.
I don't have that either.
It's not in-
No.
Page 13, you missing it?
Yep.
No.
13 is the town administrator's
Oh, we just did
report.
that.
You have it right there, right?
Yeah.
We don't, I don't have it.
No, I don't either.
Okay, I will, if you want, I will reprint that one and we'll have Adam come up or you can do public comment and I'll get a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
And the one thing that we did add today is, it was on your, handed out before the meeting. We received notification this morning that the IRS has increased the limits to health FSAs from $3,050 to $3,200. As we're getting close to open enrollment and need to notify Health Trust of any election changes, our recommendation is that the board allow an increase of health FSAs from $3,050 to $3,200 for 2024.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained? Motion passes. All right, well, we'll take a pause while you print that, Derek, and we'll go ahead and do public comment. So at this time, we'll open it up for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this evening at public comment?
No, that works.
Okay. Okay. Hello, if you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
That. This is on, yeah. All right, I'm actually coming tonight as Representative Lisa Mazer. I live at 39 Highland, Shirley, that's my Manchester, 39 Shirley Park Road in Goffstown. So, I'm actually coming to you tonight, and I apologize for the last-minutedness of this request because I just found out about this weekend myself. So the minute I found out about it over the weekend, I wrote up a statement of interest, and it's regarding our Goffstown dams. We all know we have a situation and trying to do our part in the State House, but also came across this additional potential funding from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And so I inquired with Derek as to whether the select board was already doing this, and it sounds like you had submitted for something else, but not this part, so I guess tonight, I'll start with, on their website, it says, just last month, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service announced the availability of up to $36 million for fish passage projects across the nation that address outdated, unsafe, or obsolete dams, culverts, levees, and other barriers fragmenting our nation's rivers and streams. So there's $36 million in additional investments in fish, goodness gracious, passage projects. That is a tongue twister. Communities will benefit from dam removals, culvert replacements, and reduced flooding. So, I mean, it's a whole list of this opportunity to request funding. And it looks like they have a bunch available, and we do have a regional person. Her name is Catherine Bozak, New Hampshire's Regional Fish Passage Coordinator. So I have that information from the website, sent a letter, which did they see the letter?
Yep.
Okay, the letter and the statement of interest?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so, and I have it all written, and then Derek did provide me with some additional information that you had put in the NOAA request, that if you would like this statement of interest sent to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, I'm happy to include that in there as well. So the deadline for this is November 17th, which is this week, and I would love to send it no later than Wednesday. And so, I'll try and answer questions. This is as new to me as it probably is to you. Again, I just was made aware of it on the weekend. And it seemed like it fit right into what we need. So if you have any questions, we also, in addition, Senator Keith Murphy and myself have submitted duplicate bills. So they're the same thing on the House level. So that it's HB 2293 on the House level, and then SB 2854 will be the Senate's bill. So Senator Murphy and myself and some other state reps. And you'll notice I did include Judy Lanza in this as well, so I'm hoping this is a bipartisan effort to help our town out with this funding. So, and the bills, we're hoping to get a lot of support in the House and the Senate for both of those, because we're not going to be the only towns affected by this in our state. So it's the bill in the House is relative to the transfer of dams to municipalities. So giving the towns decision-making over what happens to their dams.
Okay,
So-
I have a lot of questions about that, but let's start with the letter itself. So just right off the bat, so this is a federal grant, I'm assuming. You mentioned that you have a contact at the regional level. So who's the intended submitter and/or awardee of the grant?
The town of Goffstown.
Okay.
Even though the Kelly Falls Dam, it's mentioned in the letter, even though that's in Manchester, that affects Goffstown residents. So, yeah.
I don't know that we can do that. Go ahead.
How would we handle something like that, Derek?
In the Manchester portion,
Or in general?
I think the tough thing is we'd have to partner with the dam owner.
Right.
Which is
on
the state.
Which is the state of New Hampshire.
Have you approached the state about
Yeah, so
submitting for this?
DES is actually the one that recommended the bill part in the House of like selling a dam to a town for $1 or something like that. So they're the ones who made that suggestion. Yep.
So I'm just referring to the grant. Have you, as the grant owners, have you approached them about submitting for this grant?
No,
Okay.
I just found out about this weekend, and
Yep,
it's
yep.
Monday, so I
Gotcha.
have not.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess just knowing federal grant procedure, I don't know if the legality of requesting funds for something to do work on something that we don't own. I don't even know if they would entertain that, probably not, but I don't know, I'd have to read the grant proposal for application, and then that would fall along the lines of like, if we're the intended awardee, who would be the project manager, the federal grant reporter, things like that.
Well, who do you think though then the monies would go to of so whoever is asking for these requests, where are they sending the
So
money
the
to?
other request that we wrote a letter of support in, that was,
For DES.
DES submitted it. Did they have
Yes.
any sub-submitters? I think it was just them,
No,
right?
they were the.
So they submitted for that grant, and then we signed a letter of support in supporting them in doing that project. So I'm not quite sure that we could do that. Go ahead.
I'm not sure the intent. Is the intent that Goffstown is to buy the dam?
Yep.
And then
Well,
we
that-
were going to own the dam?
That would be the bill's intent, if they pass, is to transfer, yes, ownership. And then there's a whole, now, those, unfortunately, our OLS, the Office of Legislative Services, they had to extend the deadline on bills because there's been hundreds of bills coming in. So that's why I don't even have those two in front of me. The deadlines of those are this Friday. And be sure that I'm just not gonna plow ahead and put those through in the State House without your feedback on them. I wouldn't want to do that, and I would want everybody to see what's involved and get feedback, and if we need to submit a revision, I'm happy to do that, and I know Senator Murphy feels the same. We were hoping to get those sooner, but they're just really backed up in there, so. But that's,
I just want to keep following up on that.
yeah,
So, the bill says we could buy the dam for $1. That's what the bill says, right? Once we buy the dam, all right, then we are legally responsible for that.
And financially.
there's a,
Legally and financially responsible.
There's a whole
And if
funding
the-
element
Yeah,
mentioned
but
in
if
the
this
bill.
grant does not come
yes,
through,
yep.
then what's our responsibility as a dam owner?
Yeah, well, that bill was submitted without even knowing any of this. So there, that was done a long
Yeah,
time
but
ago.
if you don't get this money,
Right, yep.
who pays for the repairs of
That's,
the dam?
again, our OLS is drafting it as we speak. There's a whole funding piece of it in there that, I don't have the answer to that right now because they are still redrafting it. So once they have to go through legal and, to get all that figured out. But Senator Murphy and several of us got together and, just put some information in there. They had to run it through legal. I'm sure some numbers are gonna be worked around in it, but that was all taken into account. And so as not to, raise taxpayers' money either. So that's a whole piece of it too. So there's, yeah.
Policies,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jim.
Go
So the $1 issue, that was relative to Hadley Falls at all. Is the intent here to, for the town to acquire all 3 dams?
I don't know,
Well,
it's,
Well, that,
Well, Greg's
is that-
Falls, but I don't, potentially, I mean, it would, and it's not a mandate. It gives the option for the state to do that. If the towns and state agreed that that was the best way to proceed, then that will be an option. It's not a mandate by any means of you must do this. It gives towns just a backup plan.
Okay, yep, go ahead. Jim.
So thank you. So the bills, do the bills address all 3 dams?
They're for any dam in the state. It's a
In the
dam,
state,
it's a
okay,
dam
statewide.
transfer act.
And does it have a fiscal part to it?
Yes.
It asks for money.
I'm sorry?
Is it ask for money specifically to these 3 dams or 1 dam or just in general?
That's what OLS was trying to figure out. We put something in there, but they were meeting with lawyers and such to figure that out. So I will have that information to you this week. as to what the numbers look like and everything. That's why I'm pushing, this out to as long as it can go. If you want it sent, if you don't want it sent, I don't have to send it. This is just to let you know that this was out there, and if this is an option that this board wanted to look into, I know myself and others would be happy to assist in any way or do whatever you would like. If you would like to redraft this and put different information in it, I put in my email to Derek. I am open to any and all feedback.
I mean, I think we could certainly send it along to DES to see if they would consider drafting up a letter of intent. Again, because we're not the owners of the dam, I don't even know if they would entertain a submission. But just that alone, I think we should probably schedule an appointment with you at a later meeting, you and Senator Murphy, to discuss, just because the sheer magnitude of what you're proposing as an option and what the town submitting for this grant would entail is something that we certainly need time to look at and think about. Just the infrastructure of our community wouldn't be able to support this just today, as far as the town is concerned. Not only submitting for managing financially and project-wise and grant reporting is something that we're not prepared to do at this point in time. So I think,
And you
I
see-
have a multitude of questions beyond that, but I think if we're in please someone stop me if I'm wrong.
I mean, and you've seen, like, this is very specific to fish ladders. So that's what
And that would lead me
funding-
to even further questions, because I
Sure.
know that, especially for Hadley Falls, that there was a multitude of reasons, structurally and otherwise, that the fish ladders wouldn't even solve that issue in and of itself.
Yeah,
And I just had a question, well, all right, let's just dive into this if we're gonna do the whole thing.
well, we don't have to dive into the whole thing tonight. If you'd prefer until we get more information, this was an initial, run it by you guys.
Yeah, no,
Initial thoughts.
So I
And-
just, on this last one, so in the letter, you had stated we are seeking 35 million to fund in funding to cover costs associated with the materials, labor, and necessary environmental mitigation measures. It's the last sentence.
That was a number that was completely thrown out
Okay,
there, but
great,
yes.
thank you. That was my question.
Yep, and that was part of the feedback.
Okay, Collis, you had your hand up?
So where are we in the legislative process? Has an LSR been requested? And has it been given a number?
Yes, I read it earlier. HB 2293 on the
Okay,
House
so
level,
it's been assigned a bill number already.
and SB 2854.
I'm sorry, say this again, please?
SB
SB?
2854
28,
and HB 2293.
2293, okay. Has there been any fiscal notes prepared for those bills? Because that would lay out some of the financial implications.
Yes. Selectman Craig asked that earlier, but yes, that's being reworked in in OLS as we speak. But as to whether it ends up in a as to whether it ends up in a fiscal note is to be determined as to what the lawyers did with it.
Is there any time limit on submitting this?
Yes,
Is it?
November
You
17th.
did say, okay.
Yeah,
It's a,
yeah.
That's Thursday, isn't it?
And I know it's late, trust me. I literally I got this information myself, very late. But, I mean,
So
it's,
what has to be done on the 17th?
A letter of intent needs to be submitted.
yes.
so typically, you would write up I
It's
don't know
not
if you've
a
ever
grant,
done
it's just-
federal
Here-
grants. It's just the intent that you're going to apply for the grant.
Yeah.
So there's no harm in that, is
It
there?
says,
I mean, I think for us that there is, we don't own the grant. I mean, we don't own the dams. And so
But I guess-
nor do we have the infrastructure to support receiving these grant funds, writing the grant or doing anything like that. So I mean,
it says at the bottom on the website, interested parties should submit a letter of interest to the appropriate National Fish Passage Program Regional Coordinator by November 17th via email. Letters of interest should include the project name and location, a brief description of the project objectives and benefits, the expected requested funding amount, and a statement of interest in applying for the funding opportunity.
So, Jim, that's my suggestion, that we should send it to DES and
DES
request
can
that
do it.
they submit a letter of intent.
Okay, and they have to do it by the 17th.
Correct, which is
Okay,
a short
that's-
turnaround time.
They were
but
copied
I
sounds
think
on the
that-
email I
Okay.
saw as well, so, yeah, I mean.
I can make a request on behalf
I
of
think
the
that would be
board.
more appropriate.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I didn't know the process, so that's why I was coming tonight, to just put it in front of you. Wherever you decide to go from here is fine with me. You know, I just threw up a letter, just knowing that we had to kind of move quickly on it, but.
So you're okay if we do that? What
Have
you
we-
suggested?
Absolutely,
Have we even reached out to DES to see if they already know about this?
I copied them on the letter this morning in my response, Representative Mazur. I did not get a response back or ask that question. I can ask them that and say that the board would appreciate if they would submit a letter of interest to seek these grant funds out. I know they had been focusing on the NOAA grant that dealt with all three. They've been focused on that.
would they have told you that if they did do that, though?
Not necessarily.
If it applied to your, to
They said
the
they were gonna look
dams?
for anything they could, so if this, something that just came out, I'm sure they're,
Well, it came out in October, mid-October.
Yeah.
I just found out about it on the weekend, but it
We
has
certainly
been out.
hope that they would tell us, but they
Yeah.
have no obligation to do so.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they could have potentially submitted one.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, if you could
So-
follow up with Derek to schedule some time with us when you and Senator Murphy have your
Just ask a
bills move
question.
forward. Sure, Councilman.
It says they're seeking 35 million to cover costs associated with materials, labor, and environmental mitigation measures. How good is that number? How solid is that number? How did we come up with that number?
That was
Collis,
just
it's
a
just
shot
a-
in the dark. It's,
I'm
it-
just asking.
Yeah.
Something must have gone behind it. You don't just pull a number out of thin air.
well, they put on their website that $36 million, so it was just a number. And so
Okay.
I didn't know in the work that had previously been done on this board if you had a better number, which it's, again, this was all just,
Hadley Falls was somewhere between 5 and 9 million.
Yeah.
yes.
You know, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
The range is huge, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I know the scope was broader than
And there was
that.
nothing on Glen Falls.
Right, nothing else.
Kelly's Falls, has nothing to do with us, unfortunately. We can't do anything with that bridge, that dam.
Okay, great.
Yep,
Well, thank you. And again,
Okay.
if you could follow up with Derek once you and Senator Murphy have those bills situated
Aye.
with more information, we'll happily give you input on that.
yeah, you bet. How would that work, though, if you do not have a meeting scheduled before I
well-
get that? Or, like, because I'll probably get it this week, and then it has to be finalized by the end of this week.
We probably won't be able to have a special meeting. I mean, we could try,
Yeah.
but there's
Oh,
no guarantee.
I'm out of town, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's out of my control. I mean, it's OLS, they have hundreds of them, and I've been waiting for, oh, not me, many of us have been waiting for a long time, so. But we'll do our best to communicate. I'll send it to Derek, and I guess you can do what you can do and let me know. So, yeah, thank you for the opportunity. and,
Thanks for keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, you bet.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Derek, did you have the library portion to be?
I printed it out, so if you want to start with that,
Okay.
I'll run across and grab it.
You're up.
Hey, good evening.
Hello.
And
A couple of items for you tonight. First one, we've got the ongoing ventilation sprinkler project. As you probably remember, this was a, excuse me, special article back in 2022. We've had a hard time getting even the ventilation portion completed, but at least we have a contractor who's on that project. But the sprinkler portion has been rough. We've gone out to bid now twice. 0 bids on both. On the second bid opportunity that we just opened on the 2nd of November, we had direct mailed any sprinkler contractors that we could find in the state, the whole bid package, ready to go, and all they had to do was fill it out and send it back. Still 0. We did have one visitor who had some thoughts when he was walking the site, but then he didn't end up submitting anything, so we're kind of up against it. As I said in the memo, that is use lose funding because as a special article, unless we do a special non-lapsing of a 3-year period, it would lapse at the end of this fiscal year. We've got about $75,000 left on the special article line. Some of that's already earmarked. We've got some left due for the ventilation project once they get final completion. We've got a few $1,000s for Dead River propane. There's a second tank that's needed because the preheater units, when they don't fire all the time, but when they do fire at full capacity, they would freeze a tank. I think I might have mentioned that at the last meeting. Dead River needs to drop a second tank, and there's some associated piping work for that. And then capital alarm. In theory, I was going to wait until the sprinkler portion was in design and find out from the sprinkler designer exactly how many zones and what they would need from the alarm company. I think we could probably get a rough idea of what final system would need. We already know we need to upgrade the panel for the ventilation piece to add the smoke. There's some smoke sensors in it that will shut off the ventilation if they sense fire in the ducting. So we could kind of overbuild for what we currently have, but be ready for future sprinklers. So I could spend some of that money on the alarming, but I anticipate probably $30,000, maybe even $35,000 will be unspent. I think at this point, I put a recommended motion in there for possibly purchasing materials on the side, but I don't think I would recommend that recommended motion. Just to start stockpiling material, and if I don't have a design, how much am I going to order, and will I even order the right pipe? I just don't want to be sitting on a bunch of black pipe in a year or two, whatever.
Adam, just to confirm, you said you sent out the bids to, is it just local companies, or did you go?
Statewide.
Okay. Can we go out of state? I mean, has anyone had any luck?
I'm sure there are. I would imagine probably Northern Mass may travel, probably with some premium for the cost of labor that we'd have to probably pay for some of these. Might be a little more than we're used to. I think right now the timing may be the tricky part because I mean we would have meetings left. I could advertise again if you wanted to expand the reach of it, but
the fact that nobody's bidding on it or interested in doing the work is.
I know the national
crazy.
Bidding, third-party bidding tabulators are picking up on it because I do have a few calls every couple weeks on them. Okay, hey, have you opened bids yet? And who did you award to? And sadly, I have nothing to award. So I do know it is being seen and catching that visibility. So I think everybody that would be close has had the opportunity to see it if they're participating in those lead generators. So it's really up to you. Obviously, I've got a couple items coming up. Might not be the worst thing in the world to return some funds to the general fund, but it's going to be gone if we don't spend it up.
So what are you requesting?
My recommendation is just let it go. Spend the money that we've got for the propane piece, the rest of the ventilation, and the alarming, and then whatever's left, just let it lapse. We'll put it back on future year budget for just the sprinkler portion. Maybe I'll do just enough for a sprinkler design from somebody if I can get over the next. So if I tell somebody, hey, I give you 12 months to give me a design, I don't care when it shows up, just get it ready for next year budget season for 2025. I bet I could have something, an idea.
So you're looking at losing 30?
I think that's
it.
I really, with my luck, if I tried to order, heads and piping and all that,
You'd order the wrong thing.
yeah, exactly. And I'd have to
Rather
turn
lose
into
the 30 grand than have it
a
sitting on
scrap
the
metal
ground,
deal,
right?
right? And I don't know. Just wouldn't go right, I'm sure. So I guess I'm not sure I even need a motion on that unless you want to try to put it back out and bid again.
Well, here you recommend purchase sprinkler system materials, but that's not what you want.
Yeah, I probably should have put if you choose to.
But you don't really think that's the best way to
My
go?
recommendation is just let it go.
Let it go, okay. So we don't need to do anything with that then?
Yeah, unless you want to.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll try to effort that, getting at least a design or an idea of a design before the 25 budget, so I'll have a number to put in there. And make sure I put it back in CIP. Okay, item number 2. This one I'm a little sheepish about. This kind of fell off the radar. We had a project, as you might remember, with the sewer commissioners. They replaced all the sewage lines on Louis Street. They, as part of that project, had planned, there's a lot of co-located drainage and sewer, so they were going to have to replace a fair amount of the drainage anyway as they went because it was going to be disturbed. We had asked for a change order for their contract to be able to replace the remaining drainage on the street, and that way, we could have it paved once and all that. So that was 2022 project. They finally got it done. We got mired in some negotiations with their third-party engineer for a while about how much the credits and debits were going to be for which party owes who which. And then for some reasons outside of his control, he kind of fell off the radar for a few months, and it kind of fell off my radar. So making sure we get this transfer now. He's come back with final numbers, and Scott's verified. I think I included Scott's extra notes there on the second page of the attachment. So the final for that project was $131,038.01, which would be a transfer from the DPW additional road funding account line, to the Goffstown Sewer Commission. And then we'll be done with that piece of the shared project. We've got some drainage at the corner of Cross Street and Louis Street to repair before we top it. We've still got some icing there that wasn't part of the drainage scope, unfortunately. So once we get that repaired, we'll top the rest, and the road will be done.
Did you recognize it was going to be that much money when you started?
We did, yep. It was
Okay.
the only, let's see, the big change, I think was the road box piece was a little bigger than we had thought initially. That road is pretty much just built on sand. So as a recommendation, the Continental had recommended pulling some of that sand out, replace with good road-based gravel, get a better long-term product. We were a little shy on the drainage work, and then we had fronted the paving money. So in the end, it wasn't far off from where we thought we were going to be. I'd have to go back and look at the original memos, but it was definitely going to be up over 120, I think, was the original thought.
Okay, so we just need a motion for the transfer.
I'm recommending we authorize finance director to transfer $131,038.01 from the DPW to the Goffstown Sewer Commission as discussed.
Second.
Can you amend that amount to
sorry.
$131,038.10?
Oh.
I think I just had to
Yeah.
transpose the number there.
$131.
$38.10. It's only a difference of 9 cents.
Tim Redmond will come.
All right, so that was an amended motion by
Yes,
Peter,
second.
seconded by
Amended
Collis.
motion.
Any other questions or comments? Do you have something? Danielle?
Just to make sure I'm asking it correctly, we're doing it from the SB 401 funds, if possible, can we have that as part of the motion? Because those are grant funds that have to be released by the board.
Yeah, from the SB 401. Is that an amendment to your?
That's recommend that authorize the finance director to transfer $131,038.10 from DPW to Goffstown Sewer Commission as discussed, from SB 401 additional road funding account lines 1610000 through 52601.
Thank you. So amended, second amended.
Second
Motion.
amended.
All right, motion by Peter, second by Collis. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. All right, heavy one. So, as you know, we have a couple of bridges in the same neck of the woods that are both on the radar. We've got Reader's Digest version here. We've got the Center Street Bridge, which is a large multi-plate metal culvert on Center Street, just at the base of Locust Hill and Tibbetts Hill. That has been on the CIP for years, on the state's state aid bridge program list for municipal aid for years as well. As a preventative measure, those metal culvert pipes can fail quickly if they get undermined. So rather than wait until it's red listed and about to fail or shut down, worse, we requested to get on that state aid list, which provides 80% funding for the town. That project has finished preliminary design. The engineering study has been submitted to the state, and they have approved the preliminary design to go to final design. The issue with that bridge is that originally when the state accepted it into the program, it was an $870,000 project based on the existing span, and they kind of, well, the state does what they do, but usually they're low. Over the course of the CIP coming up, it grew to over $1 million for the project, but then when the engineering study was submitted to the state, the span needed to meet the state's requirements for freeboard and I think it's the 100-year flood, required a pretty significant span compared to what's there now. And then, not to mention some of the additional stuff that we talked about with them. Just the state's portion of this, the participating funds portion of the project is up over $4 million estimated right now, and that's without even going through final design. So that's probably a year-old data from DOT based on square footage for that kind of dam, that sort of bridge, that sort of thing. So we're quite above where we expect it to be. So right now, we've got some additional bridge funds from SB 401 line and soon to be from the HB2 from last year. That'll be arriving this month allegedly, that we could put towards something. We've got competing interests though. So we have the Center Street final design, which is now going to be a couple $100,000 if we're going to go through with it. We could get reimbursed for that. So if we want to put it on if we want to expend those bridge aid funds to get final design completed, we would just have enough, and then we would submit for reimbursement to get 80% of that back. In the end, that would mean the town would be out about $90,000, and the rest would be paid for by the state. And then we would have to go out to bid for construction starting in 2025 or 2026. In theory, for whatever's left of a $4-point-something million project by that point, and then we would have to budget for the first year, maybe the second. There could be some splits. They do the reimbursement works differently when you get into the construction cycle. But anyway, long story short, we'd have a couple $1 million project. We'd have to add to the budget with some offsetting revenue, but the revenue wouldn't come until we get to certain milestones in the project. Then we have the Henry Bridge Road Bridge, which we recently did some abutment work. With that done, I've taken the long-term plan for that bridge was originally to replace the whole span. But if the abutment project was successful, right now the only real deficiency other than the width, which is not terrible, it's not great, but it's not terrible. The only deficiency is a portion of the deck has got that corrosion that we talked about a few months back, and we ordered some of the deck plates to get that project started. Problem here is now with the other project increasing, the funds that I had hoped to split between the two projects to get both the design done and the construction for Henry Bridge is not going to get anywhere near enough, because we asked for some budgetary figures from Evrox, who did the abutment project on that bridge, so they're very familiar with the site and staging. And he thought it might be between $500,000 and $700,000, depending on what we try to get done when we have the deck off, if we want to blast it and all that. So clearly we can't do both with what we have for the bridge aid funding. It's kind of late in the game to start adding enormous projects, I think, to the 2024 budget, even if there is a revenue source, with one of them. Right now, I'd like to, the board's permission, I think, to cut bait with the Center Street State Aid project. I think it's so big now that it just is, when you're talking if the town's going to contribute a couple $100,000 on an 80-20 split, it's not the end of the world, but I mean, we're going to be up over $1 million just in town funds by the time, it goes out to construction. So I think the state's done some recently. We've done a few in town, similar culverts that you can do a concrete invert, similar to, I think I put in the memo, the old Pizza Hut, that crossing there by the old Ice House. We had done an invert project on that, similar culvert, a little smaller, but very successful, and it's been holding up very well. I think we could safely buy 10 to 15 more years, if not more, with Center Street if the invert is upgraded in such a manner. The state did the large crossing on North Mass just outside the past Parker Station Road last summer, I think, and they've done a few in Bedford on 114 as well. So we have some good idea what they would need for the permitting. The engineering study that we've used so far for Center Street would be able to feed into the permitting for an invert project. When you form a concrete invert on a corrugated metal, you actually increase the flow capacity of the pipe, so that should help slightly. Certainly won't be as good for aquatic life and fish passage and all that to have, this structure remain versus a full span bridge. But I think with that, obviously we all know what's coming up in CIP in future years. I think it probably makes the most sense for us as a town now to rehab that structure, leave it in place. One of the benefits is we don't have to deal with a road closure, or at least a long closure. It would be just equipment on the road for part of the lining. But and then Henry Bridge, I think we're going to have to kind of put our heads together with the engineering and maybe our consultants over the off season and see if we might be able to whittle that $500,000 to $750,000 down on that project. Maybe we only replace a few of the deck panels and we just keep some of the plates that we have instead of the whole thing. That has been partially rehabbed in the past once by DPW. It was kind of torn up, and if you probably remember, some welding was done and some panels were replaced. We really would like to get the expansion joints done at the same time, though, and you can really only do that if you do most of the deck, if not the whole deck. So I'd like to kind of work on that project over the next few months, 6 to 9 months, and figure out what the budget would be if we need to add for 2025. But if we bail on the final design on Center Street, we can get going on that and do that sometime in 2024 with the funds that we already have. Just kind of a comparison of, I didn't put in a memo because it's already enough information to make your head spin around, but if we stop right now with the state aid program, we're out. I think $92,000 was the engineering study, preliminary design. If we proceed all the way through final design and get reimbursed, it's like we're out $91,000. It's like neck and neck, how much the town would be out. The benefit of completing final design would be we'd have a shovel-ready project if we ever had a huge dump of money fall out of the sky. But if the latest state aid program has any indications, and similar to the dams, the state is trying to focus on red-listed, closed, down-rated bridges. If you have a bridge in fairly good repair, they're not allowing it in the program. So I just think it's a lot of money to spend just to have a shovel-ready project that might be 10 plus years that we even think about doing.
So with the way this is written, is recommend authorizing the DPW director to proceed with the design and permitting of the rehabilitation of the Center Street culvert, and inform DOT that the town will not be proceeding with the full replacement. So what you're saying is you want to go ahead and finish the design, which is what I heard you say.
Not finish the full bridge design. The only design we'd have left at this point, if we move to just rehabilitating what's already there, would be just enough to get the state permit for the invert. So a very minimal amount of engineering versus engineering for a full bridge crossing, sidewalk, guardrails, and all that.
Well, that's why I asked. It says proceed with the design.
So design and permitting of the rehabilitation. So that's a whole clause right there, those 6 words. So it's only for design and permitting of the rehab, not design and permitting for the full
rehab.
replacement.
Okay.
Any other questions? I appreciate you taking a look when the cost increased that much.
It's a big.
Someone will make a motion?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Recommend authorizing DPW director to proceed with design and permitting of the rehabilitation of the Center Street culvert and inform New Hampshire DOT that the town will not be proceeding with a full replacement.
Second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Collis. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Motion
Okay,
passes.
thank you. If we can, I'm going to try to still maybe get one side of sidewalk done at some point over there. If we can manipulate the existing embankment to make it all work, then that'll be great. But if not, we'll charge ahead. Okay, next up. This one is, as you probably remember, we budgeted for some use of impact fees this year, as we do most years. Right now, we've got just over $76,000 in our road impact fee account line. Of that, as Danielle's helped out here, $13,559.15 is set to expire in 2024. We had budgeted $10,000, so the request tonight is just to release that $10,000 from the road impact fee account and offset expenses incurred during this year's road plan.
Any questions?
Move to approve the release of $10,000 from the road impact fee accounts to offset the expense incurred in relation to the 2023 road plan project and reimburse the town's general fund.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Collis. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain?
Okay, and as we discussed a couple weeks ago, we will try to get the West Union Street sidewalk out of impact fees. We do have quite a few units coming online in the next year, so we expect quite a few multifamily and condos from the two big projects to replenish that account. Okay, full docket here tonight. This is the one that's been keeping me up at nights for the last couple weeks. All right, so long story short with this one, 2023 can go away and never come back. We've got to add probably four major things that happened this year, which affected budgeting for the road plan, and led to me to defer several projects already. But even with deferring Laurel Street, Mass Road, Mountain Road overlay, Lindsay Way, Saranitas, Sunbeam, Westwood, and Louis Street overlay and drainage, we still have some budget crunch. I have done a lot of subcontracting out, the death by 1,000 cuts, over $100,000 in traffic control, $50,000 in hydro seeding and drainage masonry work, $100,000 in trucking, all really because we're so short-staffed, at times up to 5 full-timers right now, 3, and especially with CDLs, makes it tough to try to keep the whole operation moving. Certainly spent a lot more money than normal in some of those areas. As I mentioned, the Louis Street project transfer didn't help, or $30,000 off books. The several other lines in the department also, we saw spikes across the board, basically in the cost of everything this year. So normally where I'd be able to underspend a certain line, or maybe have if I'm lucky, recycling takes a dip and we've got some surplus there, but just everything went the wrong way. So kind of shoot up my other available funds. And then finally, a few of our longer overlay roads, which turned into a lot more asphalt than we originally budgeted. Gorham Pond, Snook Road, and Back Mountain Road in particular. We shim those. On the older roads, we shim before we overlay, so they actually come out 2 different days and pave. Usually the shim coat is as thin as possible, but if they've gone a little too long and the shape of the road is no longer flat like this, and it turns into it's got some ruts or dips in the wheel paths, you can eat up. Your shim can be twice the cost that it normally would be. So for those longer roads in particular, it was about 25% more expensive. And when your 6-figure road like Back Mountain was, that kind of ends up quick. So anyway, long way of saying we've come to the point where I've got about $1 million left in the department between my operating lines and my non-road plan CIP lines. I do have some road funds that are already earmarked to be spent once invoicing comes in. But of that $1 million, it's not all available. So we've got some outstanding bills, of course. some of that's personnel related, that we do have surplus in personnel, but it's going to be used to wash other lines that are going to be over, et cetera, et cetera. So I had spoken with Finance and Derek last week, and Finance helped out with a few lines that they thought could be used to transfer funds into DPW to make sure that my individual, especially highway, I guess, doesn't become overrun, because the way the state forms work, your whole department can be, your bottom line budget can be okay, but if solid waste is over, it's all by itself on the state form, so now you've got to have some money available for that, unless you want it to show negative, which they try to avoid. So, on the Danielle helped out with a memo. I've got my internal lines, and I'm sorry I didn't really leave you an option with the solid waste machinery and equipment line. I think we're kind of up against it. I'm just going to have to put those back into the budget unless you want to use a surplus from elsewhere in town, but I really don't think I'm in any kind of position to be asking for that. So she helped out. We've got about $900,000 outstanding with Continental. We've only got one big bill from them. When that first big bill came in, I kind of fell out of my chair, and that's when I started to try to figure out how we're going to make all this work and what had to drop off to even come in close. So we anticipate quite a bit of that to be spent right in the last two Continental bills that we'll probably receive this fall. And then I'll have to go back to the drawing board with CIP committee in the summer and get those vehicles back on future years. The two that we have, the two biggest ones there for that first line solid waste is the one of our two tractors was to be replaced this year, and our roll-off, we have an oversized roll-off trailer that we had all those issues with. The good news is a lot of the issues that were keeping that on and offline, we had to spend quite a bit of money this year. As you probably remember, I ended up having to pay to have our have new cans brought in because our cans are too big to contract out. We had a contractor delivering and hauling cans for us while the roll-off trailer was down. I think we fixed just about every piece of that trailer that could be fixed. So I'm confident we can get through. If we've got to put it back in for 25, then so be it. But I think it's the best of a bad situation at this point. Try to keep as much of the original plan on track as I can, but we're gonna. I mentioned all those deferrals. We were taking care of stuff this year that was deferred originally from 2021. So, at some point,
Pete, you have a question?
can I get to some?
Yeah, he mentioned Continental. Now, we, in the spring, we contracted with Continental to do paving,
Yes.
but they did a lot of construction work this year, and I don't remember seeing any kind of competitive bidding done on the construction work. Paving, we understand that went out to bid and they came in, but the construction work that they did, I didn't see anything come in where it went out to bid or we had
So
anybody
we've got
looking at it.
rates from them for time and materials. They do offer excavation crews, so they'll help us with some of our work throughout the year. Never,
They did a ton this
she
year.
did a lot this year. We also spent about $150,000 with John Neville. He had done the Tetro Drive project and the Shirley Park Road. Had some drainage and sidewalk removal on that one. We contracted out with J&J Landscaping for Cove Street. Trying to think if there was any others,
But the Neville one,
But-
that came to us, so we
right, that was
looked
a
at that,
standalone project. and-
Right,
Yep.
yeah, I looked at that, but we never looked at any Continental's pricing on construction work. And I think in the future, we
Right.
probably, even if it's time and material, we
Break it
probably need,
Break it up, yeah.
We probably need to take a look at that.
I think the thing that really nailed me this year
And that's
was...
that's, you just said, you
Oh, yeah.
admitted it, came back and bit you in the butt when
Oh,
you got the
big time.
bill.
Big time. The, one thing that I think I know I would do differently, I'm usually a pretty big optimist, so how far into the season do you get when you're still short-staffed and still say, damn the torpedoes, we're still gonna stick to this list and try to get as much done as we can. And then, apparently I'm no accountant, so watching the stuff add up here, nickel and dimed, watch the pennies, take care of the dollars, I don't know, whatever the phrase is, but certainly a few lessons this year. Some of it's unavoidable, cost of everything, but I think the other thing, we're gonna have to we've got some remaining work with Continental in the spring if they finish Holly Street in particular. We're going to be going out to bid again, though, for 2024, all the rest of the work. One thing I'd like to build in there, maybe in addition to the time and material drainage crew type stuff, would be regular invoicing, monthly. This isn't the first time that this has happened where it's like, we're waiting on the invoicing, and sometimes Danielle can attest, sometimes it's January and she's about to close the books and we still don't have our last bill, and they're usually pretty big, so it kind of puts everybody on edge as we get to the end of the year.
One more question. So, once you move delay these vehicles, right? Are you going to readjust next year's CIP and moving some of that stuff out also?
I would like
Because
to,
you have stuff in there for next year also.
I would like to leave the 24 CIP as presented and just leave Frog over. So 25 CIP will change. I'm not sure yet which, will be pushed out, but I'll try to keep the same planned, bottom line for 2025 if I can. And I know we kind of left the whole roll-off and tractor discussion back in the summer kind of to stand still because we weren't having much luck. We're trying to find a roll-off truck that could replace the trailer. And we'd like to, some time won't be the worst thing to figure out that plan and decide what we're going to do there. So 2024 CIP I propose would stay the same. 2025, when I go back to CIP in the summer, will be adjusted, and then out years adjusted as well.
All right, I recommend authorize DPW director to defer purchases of a solid waste tractor and roll-off unit and authorize the finance director to make the budget line transfers as proposed.
Second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
All right, get out of here.
Mouthful on every single one of those, just about. You get your money's worth at least
Yeah.
on meeting night with me.
You don't get to come back unless you have good news.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, yeah, some grants or something in there. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And you, Derek's got the New
Derek, we'll go
Hampshire.
back to the public library.
Yeah. You got one already?
Yep. my book.
Yeah, Mark, you have one.
That's what makes Mark Jill like us. Oh, she likes Jim too.
I got one too, yeah.
Well, this is, I
I got-
was
I got
putting the
one.
packet
one?
together on Friday, so
Derek.
no, this is me.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a request from the library director. She has been getting quotes together for the painting and carpeting, and she is requesting a waiver of the minimum requirement for RFPs for this project. Again, she is right at that threshold, kind of straddling that threshold line where the RFPs are required. Right now, the purchasing policy requires 3 quotes when it's between $5,000 and $25,000. And she's just requesting that the board waive that so she can quickly move along with those 2 projects.
Yeah, the bids were coming in over, right?
Yes, slightly over.
So she wants to.
She wants to be able to exceed the 25,000, right?
Yeah.
To still
Right.
seek out quotes, but not
Okay.
to do an RFP package.
She wants to go 2 people.
Pardon me?
To go 2 people to solicit, because the bids have been over so far. She wants to try to find someone.
Well, it's kind of odd to do it that way. If you can do it for 25,000, I'll give you this. You may not get the same thing from this guy that you will from this guy. So it's got to be an RFP that everybody's bidding on the same thing, quoting on the same thing. If you don't do it that way, or have a set of bid specs, then you never know what you're going to get.
I don't, Derek, maybe you can speak to it. I don't think the intention was to get a difference of services. It
No,
was
she's
for
still
her to
quoting
go
the
out.
same work. She just to put the actual bid specs together and the amount of time that she would have to put into that and have it probably cross-checked by either somebody here or somebody at one of the other departments. She's just seeking to move this project along a little bit quicker. Again, because I think some of the prices she's getting are right around that threshold. That's usually when we see.
I don't know. You're the rep, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I wasn't involved in this,
No?
no, but maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Should definitely be moving more quickly, but not necessarily more efficiently.
I guess, yeah.
Jim wants to say something, but he
Yeah,
just
go
doesn't
ahead,
know
Jim.
what to
We don't
say.
have, if we allow her to do this, we don't have another check on what she does, right? She's just-
Right.
So,
That's my understanding, am I right there?
Yeah, the finance department checks when the PO comes in and when the actual contracts, we do confirm the quotes that are provided. But other than that, it would not come back to this board if you waived the purchasing policy to allow quotes rather than bids.
So it says the two quotes are just over for $25 minimum. How much over? What's just over?
500, 5,000? I mean, you
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
250,000.
Just want to put it in perspective.
Danielle, do you know?
I haven't seen the actual quotes for these two projects. It's my understanding that these projects are for carpeting and paint, so they're not some of the complex construction projects that we would normally send out to bid. The way that Diane explained it to me when she had initially requested, how to proceed, was that she's seeking out quotes. She'd like to continue seeking quotes. It was her initial quote that came back on each project that just tipped the scale, she explained, of the 25,000. And she's looking to efficiently get these projects done. And she's hoping to move forward by getting quotes from other providers of the same services to move forward without having to do a sealed bid, wait for bids to be returned for something as somewhat simple as painting or carpeting. It's not, there's no moving walls, there's no structural changes, there's no design that we would typically see in our RFP
I got it.
level projects.
That makes sense.
So it's more that it's just construction costs have increased faster than our purchasing policy at this point.
Okay, go ahead.
Derek, can we put a cap on this for her, or are we not allowed to cap it?
You can, by doing anything, you'd be waiving the purchasing policy, so if you wanted to add a cap, you could.
So could you just come and ask us before she moves forward? Like, she doesn't have to do the RFP, but just come let us know what the,
The complexity, the only thing that makes it a little bit of a tough thing is, once somebody comes forward with quotes to the board, it becomes public knowledge on what
Right.
that is.
yeah, that's true.
That's the advantage of doing an RFP, and
Right. How many of those projects on that list too were over $25,000? All of them, probably?
No, there were a handful that were under. Fire had a $10,000 floor replacement. Parks and Rec, total project was over. Diane had requested $52,000 for both the painting, for the total for painting and carpet. And then Fire had some security access readers. So everything else was over the $25,000 threshold.
so, let's just go back to what you said. She has $52,000 in her budget, right?
From those
For the
funds,
projects.
yep.
Okay, so she's looking, the waiver of 25,000 on each side?
Yes, on each project, on the carpeting and the painting,
But she can't exceed 52,000.
From the
No.
grant funds,
from the grant
correct?
funds, correct.
So, now we know how much she's looking to spend. It's 50 She only got the, she can only spend 52,000.
So as long as the total of both projects
Do not
do
exceed.
not exceed,
And no other side bills come in.
Yeah.
Moving furniture and things like that. It should be all included in a bid, like when it comes to carpeting and things like that, so.
So cap it at 50.
Huh?
Then we cap it at 50.
52.
Two, she's got 52.
52.
Oh, she's got 52.
52 is what she's been
For two
given.
Allow her to spend up to the 52 and no more.
Yep, all right.
And
That-
that's her
Yep.
budget,
Yep.
52.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Pete,
Yep.
seconded by Mark. Any other questions or comments?
That should be pretty,
Yes.
you know, cut
Straightforward.
dry, I mean.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
I-
Any opposed, abstain? Motion passes. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Derek, did you have anything else?
No.
Oh, gosh. almost.
Action matrix.
Action matrix, okay. Police station, that's still
In the
work in
works.
progress. The village pedestrian bridge, Collis, did they have their meeting last week?
They did, but I was not there, so I can't speak to it.
Okay, so we'll wait for an update
Yeah.
on that.
Wait for it.
L-chip, oh, we
That
got
was
the
kind
news
of
on that.
disheartening.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we are gonna be able to sit down with the staff that sat with the review committee to get some feedback on the application.
Okay, okay. And then Chief Serena, any update on your cars that are out of service, or the
You
one,
got one car.
or Adam on your curbside truck?
Nothing further other than I got to get you guys that conceptual plan. That's for non-public viewing.
Okay.
I have to work with Derek. I have the plans on my desk as of today. I just hadn't got them to you
Well,
guys.
it's not on our agenda, so.
What's
never
that?
mind.
Yeah. At some point though, yeah, we're
Okay,
still working.
that's for the police station update, but any update on the car?
Sorry, that's what you were asking me.
Nope.
No car.
The car 7 is, it's a 2022, and it is now in auto fair for a powertrain issue. They're looking at it and they're trying to fix it under warranty, which has been put on the back burner for them because they're understaffed too. So
Okay,
That's
so,
what-
yeah, all right,
that's what car 7 is.
got it. Thank you.
You're
And no update on the curbside truck? Okay. All right, any other new or old business? Okay, this time we'll open it up for our final public comment of the evening. Is there anyone who wishes to speak at public comment? All right, seeing none, we will close public comment.
Motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, 2C compensation.
Second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Mark.
Kelly, can I add land to that as well as some information I want to share with the board?
Yep. What letters? Land.
D.
D, thank you. Okay. And that will be a roll call vote, Mark?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, this will conclude the public portion of tonight's meeting.